Imagine building 156 homes, only to realize the land you built on was never yours. That's exactly what happened when an HOA tried to erase a black family's legacy. But what they didn't know was that his family had set a 100-year trap, and when it finally snapped shut, the entire community was stunned. This is the story of Samuel Johnson, a man who lived quietly on the outskirts of town, tending to the land his great-grandfather had purchased nearly a century earlier. It wasn't just soil and trees to him. It was history. Every fence post, every patch of grass held the memory of generations who had worked, struggled, and triumphed on that very ground. Samuel's family had survived an era when black landowners were pushed out, threatened, and cheated. But his great-grandfather, a clever man with a sharp mind, had made sure the land would never slip away. Buried in the deed were clauses, protections, and conditions that no one outside the family knew about. It was a safeguard, a century-long trap to protect their legacy. Decades passed and the town grew. Suburbs sprawled closer and closer to Samuel's property. Eventually, a powerful HOA, backed by developers, saw his land as the perfect place to expand. To them, Samuel was just an old man on a plot of dirt, an obstacle standing in the way of profits. They began pressuring him. Letters, offers, threats. Sell the land, they demanded. It's worth more as houses than as pasture. Samuel refused every time. His answer was always the same. This land isn't for sale. But the HOA wasn't used to hearing no, and when pressure didn't work, they used force. Without Samuel's consent, construction crews arrived one morning. Bulldozers tore into the fields. Within months, rows of houses began to rise where Samuel's cattle once grazed. The HOA boasted about their new community, 156 modern homes, all under their shiny new rules. To them, Samuel's silence meant surrender. They thought they had won. Samuel watched from his porch as the neighborhood grew. Families moved in. Children played in the streets. The HOA congratulated themselves on a victory. But Samuel never raised his voice, never went to court, never fought. Neighbors thought he had given up. What they didn't realize was that Samuel's silence wasn't defeat. It was patience. Because deep inside his family's dusty old chest was a set of documents, deeds, maps, and legal traps that his great-grandfather had prepared long before any of them were born. You see, nearly a century earlier, Samuel's great-grandfather had placed a special clause in the land deed. It stated that the land could never be sold, leased, or transferred without direct approval from his descendants. And if anyone tried to take it unlawfully, every building, every structure placed on that land would automatically belong to the Johnson family. It was a clause designed for one reason: protection. And now, nearly 100 years later, it was about to spring shut. One bright morning, Samuel walked into the county courthouse with a stack of yellowed papers. The clerk raised an eyebrow as he placed the deed, signed and sealed from 1923, onto the desk. Lawyers gathered, the HOA board was summoned, and within hours panic began to ripple through the community. The land the HOA had built on, every square foot of it, was still legally his, and according to the deed, every single one of those 156 homes was now his property too. The HOA board members went pale. Families who had mocked Samuel whispered in shock, and Karen, the loudest voice on the HOA board, shouted in disbelief, "This can't be legal!" But it was. Every brick, every yard, every mailbox belonged to Samuel. News spread quickly. The development that was supposed to be the HOA's crown jewel turned into their nightmare. Lawyers scrambled, homeowners panicked, and the county confirmed what Samuel had known all along. His family's legacy was untouchable. Karen stormed over to Samuel's porch, demanding answers. But Samuel simply handed her a copy of the deed. His words were calm, but they cut deep. "My great-grandfather built a trap for people like you, and you walked right into it." For the first time, Karen and the entire HOA had nothing to say. Samuel didn't throw families out of their homes. He wasn't cruel. Instead, he gave them a choice. They could stay, but now they paid rent to him. The HOA, once proud and arrogant, now had to answer to the very man they tried to erase. It was poetic justice. The land that had been in his family for generations was not only safe, it had multiplied in value 100 times over. And the HOA, once boasting about their 156 homes, now whispered in shame about the day they discovered the Johnson family's century-old trap. This story isn't just about land, it's about legacy, about a family who refused to let their history be erased. Samuel's great-grandfather had planted more than crops on that soil. He had planted foresight, resilience, and protection, and when greed tried to destroy that legacy, history struck back. The HOA thought they had buried a man's dream under concrete and houses. Instead, they buried themselves in a trap they could never escape. So the next time someone underestimates you, remember, true power isn't always loud. Sometimes it's written quietly in ink, waiting patiently for the right moment to change everything.